Okay, doctor, checking in. How are you today? What's going on?
Um, Things are a little bit hectic and I'm feeling a little bit stretched, slightly depressed, but extremely hopeful.
Okay. Tell me more about that. How are you feeling stretched and what's bringing you hope right now?
So I think what's stretching me thin is one, I'm kind of taking care of about 4 other humans, um, which are part of my household. And then, of course, the organization that I co-founded, AAPI Women Lead, we are trying to do our best to bring all of our community members and our leaders together to help us kind of organize and manage under all of this. And then I'm still a part of different projects. I'm working with a number of scholars and organizers to create a series of workshops and webinars to help inform our communities around the violence that's happening, and then, work on access and disability, work on COVID in general.
I want to dive into that, but I first want to dive into your personal experiences. From the start of this, or when it really started to hit big in the States, what were you feeling? What were you experiencing? And how have those feelings and experiences progressed over the past 2 to 3 weeks?
Good question. So when I first heard about it, I went into straight first responder. I have an elderly uncle, an elderly aunt. I have other family members. So I went back to stay with them and started to have them plan, so I went into kind of crisis management for the family. And then all the anti-Asian stuff started happening. And my mom is, she has kidney failure and heart disease. And so she goes to dialysis 3 times a week. And so I'm operating under a lot of stress and fear for her, because she was also in the middle of potentially getting a new kidney from my sister. So that's kind of on hold. And then, she's going every day, driving however many miles to go get her dialysis. And then she's also afraid for her life as an Asian woman and an elderly Asian woman, right? So things are, still pretty hectic. But I think when I start to organize and start to talk to other community members who are doing mutual aid projects, that's what makes me feel more hopeful.
As the executive director and the founder of AAPI Women Lead, can you just tell us a little bit about the organization for those who don't know? And then also shed light on the abuse that is being inflicted upon the Asian American community right now.
So AAPI Women Lead, which is essentially Asian and Pacific Islander Women Lead, we're an organization that helps to highlight the issues of violence that impact self-identified Asian and Pacific Islander women and girls. And when we say violence, we mean state violence, right? We're talking about immigration, deportation. We're talking about even the fact that, we immigrated, many of us immigrated over here as war refugees, climate refugees, right? So violence. And then we also highlight our community's leadership. And the biggest thing about us is that we do work in solidarity with other communities of color, right? And then in terms of what's happening to our communities right now, we are experiencing different types of violence. People are blaming Asians for COVID, largely because, people are racist. And then the other thing is around 45, President Trump saying something like this is the Chinese virus. So people are looking for someone to blame. And they've decided they're going to blame Asians. And now they're being physically attacked, physically assaulted. I think I read a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old got stabbed in Texas. We're talking about people, getting verbally assaulted, people wanting to distance from Asians. I think that's a major type of anti-Asian violence. And then there's another type of anti-Asian violence, which is a lot of our folks are on, we're the essential workers, we're the healthcare workers, we're the postal workers. Some of us are in the informal economy, some of us are sex workers. We're either on the front lines working and then being, assaulted, or we're the essential workers who are not being supported And then as informal workers who are like sex workers, folks who are incarcerated, we have no support networks. So those are the types of violence that our communities are experiencing, on top of people calling it the Chinese violence.
Right. If someone is experiencing this type of violence, I know you said there is no support system, but are there any resources? Can someone get in contact with you, with maybe one of your affiliates? How can that work? How does that work?
A couple things. On social media, AAPIWL Women Lead is hosting conversations with folks on how to support one another on our sites. The other thing, and that can also be on our site, it's called Stop Asian Hate. That's where you can report the anti-Asian violence. Really, it's about like having each other's backs, and then those who are witnessing wanting to have everyone else's backs too, because that's the only way we're gonna make it under this pandemic.
Right, and that's something I wanted to ask about. If someone is witnessing, how can we be allies? How can we support? Is it about stopping it immediately in time? What can we do? What can we do better?
If you feel safe enough, intervene. Like, this is not, because violence happens in isolation typically, right? When people feel like that person no one's gonna back them up. The other thing is having conversations with folks around how Asian people are not the reason this has spread. It's also about like the neglect of our government, such that the pandemic has spread, right? So having conversations with people, intervening, and also holding the state accountable is really freaking important. Meaning hold your local people accountable, your federal people accountable, so that we don't scapegoat Asians.
Right. How can we support you more? What can we do for you?
I think asking that question is really helpful. I think maybe us all stepping up for each other. I think right now Asian communities are feeling really vulnerable. Poor folks, differently abled folks, survivors of violence are feeling really vulnerable right now. I happen to be all of those, or having come from a poor community. So people like dropping off oranges to my family has been nice. So mutual aid would be nice. I don't even know how I need help. I don't know. I guess just asking me and telling me this is what way I can help you, which is to spread the word. If you need a virtual hug.
Thank you. I appreciate you being honest and vulnerable right now. Thank you for all of the amazing work you're doing. I know that it is not easy, especially during this time. You are an inspiration. You are a light to all of us. And I hope that you know that. Just keep hanging in there. If there's anything else you want to say to everyone, what would that be?
I've been saying it on social media a lot. One is we really got to take care of each other. This is the time, when it ends, the federal government is going to claim that they did it and they took care of each other, but it's us. Yep. It's really, and thank one another and stay home. But really, really, really take care of each other.